Hey everybody, it has been a very long time, but for good reason. So, as you can see, I do not have any hair. Let me take off my glasses. I have lost most of my eyelashes. You can't tell as much with my eyebrows, but I truly have. But a few years ago, I had a nano brow done. So, my eyelashes have fallen out, as well as, I have, put on some weight, and I'm about to tell you why. So first and foremost, before I get started on this whole thing, and explanation and, just encouragement, let's pray. Father Most High, I come before you. You are high and lifted up above a principality, power, all principalities, power, and might, and you deserve all praise, all glory. So take it for yourself. You are the potter, and we are merely the clay. There's nothing that happens on this earth that doesn't pass through your hands first. I give you all praise and all glory. I just ask that you please just not let anything come out of my mouth that is not of you. Do not let me speak anything that is not your truth. I just thank you for your son, Yeshua HaMashiach, who comes in the flesh, bled, and died on the cross and rose on the third day. We thank you for your sacrifice on the cross. We thank you for that sacrifice because that's permitted us to be saved through faith and grace, Abba. And we just praise you, honor you, glorify you, and everything that is spoken on this video today on October 17th of 2024 as a timestamp. I just give all glory to you and just thank you for this whole journey. In Yeshua's mighty name, amen. Okay, guys, so all right, well, I'm sure you've guessed by now, but I have been going through a cancer journey. So I found a lump in my left breast on November 4th last year. I waited quite a bit to get it checked out. I officially went and got an exam in February of this year, 2024. And then I was sent to do my very first mammogram and ultrasound of my breast, and they confirmed that I had a stage 1 triple negative, stage 1B triple negative breast cancer. Okay, so the size they found when they measured it initially when I went locally to get this checked out was 1.7 centimeters. Well, so I prayed a lot about it, talked to Jesus, and he kept telling me to go through the motions, and to listen to my husband. Those are the two things he said. Okay. And so in talking to my husband about it, we decided to get a second opinion at MD Anderson in Houston, Texas. And so we went there on May 15th. Okay, and so they did another mammogram and did another ultrasound, and then they found that, that's where I was staged at 1B, triple negative, okay, breast cancer, all right. If you're not sure what that means, basically, and I don't know the ins and outs of all the different, codes and whatnot, but I can tell you that triple negative just means there was 0 hormones attached to this particular cancer. Okay. So, anyway, they attributed that to the most aggressive, or one of the more aggressive breast cancers. Okay. Like that would, multiply rapidly, etc. So anyway, whenever they redid the mammogram and an ultrasound, okay, on May 15th, mind you, I found this lump the first time on November 4th of 2023, okay, and I waited to get it checked out, just letting you know, because I just turned 40, and our hormones change. And so if it were, sometimes, hormones can cause you to have a lump and it'll come and go or whatever. Well, I wanted to make sure it wasn't that. So when it didn't go away after a couple of months, I went and got it checked out. Okay. So anyway, we get our second opinion at MD Anderson, and it measured there after, they re-measured it. It measured at 1.8 centimeters. So, I can tell you that from the time I first found it, I checked it regularly, obviously, to make sure whether or not it would go away or if it changed. And the size of it never felt different. And so whenever I initially had it measured through, an ultrasound, and it measured at 1.7, and that was, let's see, they ended up doing the biopsy on March 18th. So just before that, I don't remember the exact day. I guess it was like the tail end of February, or it was first part of March of 2024 when they first measured it. So from the time of, at least from March up until May, it really hadn't changed. Because if you know anything about the medical field and nursing, etc., then you know that, your measurements can vary just based on who's measuring, especially with it being 1/10 of a centimeter. So little to no change, if at all. All right. And I found this back in November. So whenever I finally saw the physician at MD Anderson, and I received the official staging of the triple negative stage 1B, he was very surprised that it had not changed or spread to lymph nodes. And I mean, when they check, your ribs, in this particular circumstance, your ribs, your lymph nodes, all down. I mean, your sternum and your, in your ribs and lymph nodes and your armpits and, all around. Okay. And, when it had not spread, nor had it changed in size. Okay. So I attribute that to miracle number 1 from Jesus. Proof that his hand has been on me this entire time. So from November till May, essentially no change, with the proof of no change from March to, or very, very, very small change from March until May of 2024. Okay. So I'm just reiterating that because the physician was very surprised. Okay. Because they wanted me to get started on things very, very quickly. Well, Jesus specifically told me to listen to my husband. And so that's why we went to MD Anderson. So the purpose there, having been listening to Jesus and him direct me every step of my life now, fully, he always has, but I'm just saying, like, physically hearing his voice, just always knowing, that is significant. Okay. Because he marks things. He specifically tells you to do things for a reason. And so this is just one of them. Okay. And I'm being very specific here because it's important. Okay. All right. So I go 5/15 of 24, and I am getting, I do apologize, guys. 1 second. Okay. All right. I'm sorry about that. The little pop downs, it's been a little bit, so I forget about these things, to turn those off. So anyway, okay, so 5:15 I saw the doctor, and so 5:28 I went and got my Metaport put in, so you can see that there. So you know that, I didn't just shave my head or pluck out my eyelashes. The proof is right here. I have a Metaport. Okay. Okay. And I'm sorry for those that are naysayers, but anyway, it's okay. I love you all, and you'll see. Anyway, so the first treatment, let's see, I got my Metaport on 5/28, my very first treatment, which was the 2-drug regimen, which they call the Red Devil, which it literally goes in red. It's a red liquid. It's the AC, they call it the AC combination. Okay. I got 4 of those treatments. My very first one on 5/29. And on 5/28 to 5/29, the whole group got on Zoom with me and they prayed with me, and Jesus spoke through Mandy and, gave a message. And long short of it, he essentially said that I am receiving the waters of Dan, in which I'm going to explain what that is, and that I'm already healed, in which I believe. I didn't understand everything at that point, but I do now. And that this was all a facade. So, very interesting, right? Okay, so that's officially started this journey. So 5/29 was my first treatment. I had to have 4 of the AC, the 2-drug regimen, chemos. Okay. And so that was every other week for 2 months. And then I started a weekly treatment with Taxol, and that was 12 weeks. So I had 16 total treatments. My very last treatment was completed. Hallelujah. Thank you, Abba. On October 9th. Okay. And so the prophecy was that I received the waters of Dan every single time that I had this treatment. Okay. So let's talk about spiritual and physical. All right. So you have a spiritual aspect and you have physical. So the waters of Dan, I looked and studied and just, I racked my brain over this for months. Okay. Because sometimes he gives us things that he doesn't fully allow the revelation to come to you until closer to the end of that particular stint of journey. And so I just pretty well received it. So humbling myself and getting on here with a bald head and looking the way I do, it's not easy. However, I know that I'm a warrior. So let me tell you what the waters of Dan is. So we know that Dan, the tribe of Dan, actually can be like that. You look it up and you see that it's a serpent, and it's all like the serpent tribe, and it's also the judge tribe. Okay. So I have always attributed the tribe of Dan more to the judgment side. Okay. And so in researching the tribe of Dan over several months now in depth, the waters of Dan is mentioned and referred to actually in the book of Enoch. Okay. And I think it's Enoch 49. Anyway, I will put it in the description because it's not 49. It's another chapter. I stumbled on it just by chance one day. But anyway, so it's a real thing is kind of what I'm trying to tell you. The waters of Dan physically is there is a land for that, with the land that was given to Dan. But anyway, okay, so when I think of waters of Dan, I think of waters of judgment. Okay. And so hear me out here. So I just want to reiterate that these things happening and the fact that I was allowed to have cancer has nothing to do with sin, nor does it have anything to do with falling from grace, nor is God mad at me, okay? And so, you know, it has nothing to do with salvation, okay? I'm not saved. That's, I just want to make sure that that's clear. And so receiving the waters of Dan have to do with cleansing and purification, not for the sake of salvation, but for the sake of, circumcising your heart to him, bending your heart towards Jesus. And it is a form of a trial. We all have our trials, right? So particularly one big trial for me and testing period is going through this cancer treatment and going through having a disease that man says is very dangerous, and that man says that you need man's medicines to be cured from, correct? Right? So anyway, from the beginning, he's telling me I'm healed and telling me that this is all a facade. And so I'm like, okay, Abba, so if I'm already healed and this is a facade, then why would I need to go through and get these treatments? Why? It was my question for a long time, for weeks and weeks. Why would you make me go through this if, knowing what I know? And, I hear from you directly. These are just honest questions that I've had. I hear from you directly, and you're telling me I'm healed. It's a facade, and just listen to my husband. Why would I still need to go through this treatment? Well, okay. So a part of it is because of what the waters of Dan symbolize. Okay, so Dan being the tribe of judgment, right? So in the physical, the waters of Dan would be waters of judgment. But in the spiritual, okay, because of the blood that Jesus shed on the cross for us, right? And what he did would be waters of healing. So let me explain what I mean by that. Okay. And I'm going to read some scripture here in a little bit too. So the whole point, okay, and again, this is not about salvation. This is past salvation. This is the sanctification process. All right. And then I'm also going to let you know about a prophecy that Mandy received on June 13th of 2023. Okay. Actually referring to my journey, and in which it affects, several people, because it's very symbolic. So, anyway. So the waters of Dan physically are waters of judgment, right? So physically, I'm receiving this chemotherapy. All right. So I have said for a long time that I felt in my spirit that cancer is a form of internal leprosy. Okay. It's like a physical manifestation of an internal leprosy. Of course, you can have skin cancers and stuff. So I'm not discounting that. However, this is internal. You can't see it on the outside. It's on the inside. Okay. So you receive these medications, and it's supposed to shrink up these tumors and spots. And, you go through all the things that they recommend through man, and then you're quote unquote healed, right? Well, spiritually, Jesus said, I'm already healed. And that's because in the spirit you are, because in the spirit you're pure. All right. So anyway, so physically I'm receiving these medications, and it's doing its thing, right? It has shrunk, and I'll be having surgery soon, providing we're still here. And again, we don't know when. It's his timing. But anyway, spiritually though, this journey is still serving as a cleansing and purification and sanctification process of circumcising your heart and bending your heart to Jesus. So What do I mean by that? All right. So after we are saved, okay, we take that first step and we believe Jesus is the Son of God. He came in the flesh, blood, and died on the cross and rose on the third day. Okay, we believe that his blood shed on the cross is what saved us. Okay, that's our free gift. That's the salvation. But then what's next? You have a sanctification process. Okay, you have your goal. You go through the whole gold tried by fire. You go through, fire is actually purification as well, right? So, water, the flood, Noah's flood, is a form of purification of the earth, and the earth is going to be destroyed by fire, and later, right? After all is said and done, with a new heaven and new earth being made. So what am I trying to say? Okay, so your trials and tribulations on this earth after salvation is to train you is to train you in the fruit of the Spirit to help develop it, okay? And it's also to purify and cleanse you in a sense of not salvation, because that's already done, but in a sense of becoming one with the Father, right? So I mean, there's so many examples in Scripture that's spoken about regarding cleansing and purification. And I'm not talking about the law, because when we were saved by grace through faith, the law is fulfilled in that, right? We're not under the law anymore. And so we're under his grace. However, we still go through really tough things, right? So let me ask you this. So what is the point of God's judgment, right? So the point of his judgment, or his allowance to go through really tough situations, okay, is to bring you closer to him, to develop more reverence for Jesus, and to help you grow, right? Okay. So my whole point in what he's taught me through this cancer journey is, not only has it increased my faith, it has brought me so much closer to Christ. And it's because through those really tough times, as an example, okay, miracle number one, okay, the lump, the tumor, had not changed in several months, okay, in which it was supposed to be considered aggressive, which means it would rapidly grow, okay? It didn't. That was miracle number one. Miracle number two is that during the first 4 treatments for myself, I never got sick and vomited, the typical symptoms. Now, I had some fatigue throughout the whole journey, and I had a couple of times where my body was hurting, but it wasn't the chemo, it was the other, like, platelet increasing medication. That medication's pretty rough, but and then of course I've lost my hair. That was a tough one, losing my hair and my eyelashes and whatnot. There were times I think I had mouth sores one time, and it wasn't but one, and it wasn't bad. It hurt, but it wasn't bad. And let's see what else. And my nails, I don't know if you can tell right now. You may not be able to tell as much, but they actually are darker. They turn brown, and they're very, very sensitive. And that's from the Taxol. Taxol can cause neuropathy. and your nail beds to lift, which has been happening. See, so why am I saying all this? Okay, so I had these specific symptoms. Okay, however, what was I still able to do? I was still able to be mom. I was still able to do, some exercising, and I did that almost every single day throughout this whole 12 weeks. It was about 5 months. Yeah, 5 months. I still exercised nearly every day. And work a full-time job. I didn't miss any time. And I was able to keep up with my productivity. And I didn't miss a treatment because my lab values held strong. Okay? And so if anybody knows anything about cancer, when they give you the treatments, you have to take labs before every treatment because they want to make sure your neutrophils and your white blood cells and other various different, your kidney function and other, your platelets, etc., are going to, stay within, at a certain level. Okay. In order for you to continue to get treatment. Well, I never had to miss a treatment. So that's a good testimony to that. So my point is, okay, guys, is that my normal, I still have been able, even though I had really rough days. Now, don't misunderstand me. It's been a very emotional journey. I've had some really rough days, and I've had days where I've been tired, and I've had some hurts and pains, throughout my body, but the main symptoms that I've dealt with is just, hair loss, some issues with my nail beds and in, the grip of my hands. But I can still function like normal. I've still been able to maintain my job, my full-time job, full-time. And, that to me, that is a testament to Jesus walking through this whole thing with me. I have had people say that other than the loss of my hair, that I don't necessarily look like I've had cancer, other than these things, because, I've been able to maintain everything else. And so I'm just saying that that's a testament to what he has been doing. Okay. So, he's been with me the whole time. All right. And, it's been hard, but it's also been beautiful because of all the blessings that he's been showing me. I've learned how to appreciate my husband more. Not that I didn't appreciate him, but our relationship has just grown. I've learned to appreciate, being able to, function normally, appreciate being healthy. There's just so many things. So my eyes have been open to a lot of beautiful things. All right. Is really what I'm getting at. But anyway, so again, waters of Dan. So on the outside or physically, it looks like it's the waters of judgment, but yet spiritually, it's actually the waters of healing, right? Because it's through our trials and tribulations that we develop endurance, we develop strength, we become closer to our Father in heaven. We are humbled and our hearts are bent more towards him. And we're able to let out all the things that we, from our past traumas, experiences, we, through those trials, you're able to finally learn how to let those things go and truly heal from it so that you can exercise the fruit of the Spirit. Okay. And so that's what spiritual growth is you have to go through the testing, right? So what does that people say? There's no testimony without test, right? Well, it's absolutely true. And what am I doing now? I am telling you about my testimony and about what's been going on for the past, 5 to 7 months, or actually a little bit more. Actually almost a year now, 11/4, and and where all of this comes in with Jesus. So with that said, I'm gonna read some things about the shaved head, with Paul tying to the Nazarite vow, and just kind of go through that and just kind of show you. And then I want to pull up the prophecy from June 13th of 2023 that talks about the crab and the uncircumcision versus circumcision that Jesus spoke through Mandy. And that is like talking about this journey. And I'll explain it why. So just hang tight. Okay, guys, so let's go ahead and start with number 6. Okay, I'm going to read about the law of the Nazarites and just kind of go into, the whole situation with Paul. So it says, and I'm not going to read everything, um, just because, I mean, some of this is interesting as far as how it applies to my personal situation that I didn't even realize lined up with this until actually today. Um, but anyway, so number 6, starting at verse 1 says, Again, the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the sons of Israel and say to them, when a man or a woman makes a special vow, namely the vow of a Nazarite to live as a Nazarite for the Lord. So let's look up Nazarite real quick because it is important. So Nazir, which means a consecrated or devoted one, an untrimmed vine. Okay, so whenever you make a vow to be a Nazarite, you are consecrating yourself, separating yourself. And what does he say? He says, Be you holy as I am holy, which means be set apart like I am set apart. That's what that means. Okay. All right. So, anyway, it's to devote yourself to God, basically. All right. Okay. So he shall abstain from wine and strong drink. He shall consume no vinegar, whether made from wine or strong drink, or nor shall he drink any grape juice, nor eat fresh or dried grapes. All the days of his consecration, he shall not eat anything that is produced from the grapevine, from the seeds, even to the skin. All the days of his vow of consecration, no razor shall pass over his head. He shall be holy until the days are fulfilled, which he lives as a Nazarite for the Lord. He shall let the locks of hair on his head grow long. I'm sorry, guys. It's been just so long since I've done this, so bear with me. All the days of his life as a Nazarite for the Lord, he shall not come up to a dead person. He shall not make himself unclean for his father or for his mother, for his brother or for his sister when they die, because his consecration to God is on his head, right? That's the hair. All the days of his consecration he is holy to the Lord, but if someone dies very suddenly beside him, and he defiles his consecrated head of hair, then he shall shave his head on the day when he becomes clean. He shall shave it on the 7th day. All right. Then on the 8th day he shall bring 2 turtle doves or 2 young doves to the priest to the entrance of the tent of meeting. So I'm not going to read all this, but he talks about going and doing, burnt offerings for atonement, etc. And there are four reasons why, or four things you're not supposed to do during this vow. Okay. So basically, if you become defiled during this time, then you shave your head, right? Well, Jesus specifically told me that death was declared over me. That's what cancer is, right? Cancer is a picture symbolically of death. We are healed from it. You can beat it, but that's just symbolically what that was, right? So, because of that, I lost my hair, in which I ended up having to shave it because of how much I was losing and it was hurting. But that's basically what happened. And I didn't even realize at that time that it lined up with this. So, um, and again, that's not me following the law. This is just interesting because it means something, okay? All right. So there's more offerings, etc. So, um, down here on verse 18, 6:18. Huh, that's interesting. The Nazarite shall then shave his consecrated head of hair at the entrance of the tent of meeting. Okay, and this is after making all the offerings. Um, and take the consecrated hair of his head and put it on the fire which is under the sacrifice of peace offerings. Okay. So whenever let's see, hands of hands after he shaved his head. Okay. So basically, after he shaves his head, the vow is done. Okay. That's according to the law of consecration. That's the whole point of a Nazarite vow. Okay. You're setting yourself apart to God, okay? And it is an outward action that is showing that you are setting yourself apart. We don't have to do this anymore. That's not what I'm saying, okay? But symbolically, Jesus was using it as a message, as a testimony, right? Okay, so let me then go to um and I just want to quickly I'll go to that in a second. I want to go to here. So Acts 18, verse 18. Let's see. Okay. So here it says that Paul stayed in Corinth for some time after that, then said goodbye to the brothers and sisters and went to nearby Centuria. There he shaved his head according to the Jewish custom, marking the end of a vow. Okay, so he's talking about having gone through the Nazarite vow. He marked the end of it because he spent however allotted time, not cutting his hair, etc. And then when it was done, he shaved his head, right? He did this. So if you don't know a lot about Paul, Paul was, considered a Pharisee. He sat with one of the most um well-versed Torah teachers, okay, very renowned during that time, and taught Paul all the Torah. And so he taught Saul, and then before he transitioned and he went from being under the law to being under Jesus and his grace, in his name change, it is very similar to the walk that I've had because I went through and walked through Torah, okay? And then Jesus, you know, stopped me and turned me around. And then he used that whole journey for a purpose. And then now um, he he has shown me about what true salvation is and what it means to be under the law, etc. And that's what this whole journey for me has been about. I went from being under the law to now being under his grace, right, for salvation. And now I'm going through the sanctification process. And this is just one thing amongst the whole sanctification journey that I am sharing with you guys, right? Okay, so let me go here to this because I was just curious maybe to get maybe a little bit more insight potentially on the situation with Paul and the whole purpose, okay? So of the Nazarite vow. Excuse me. Okay, so basically there I'm going to go down to the end here because the conclusion is I don't need to beat a dead horse. So basically Paul shaved his head. He went through the whole Nazarite vow, okay? With these four requirements: to avoid alcohol and vinegar, to avoid all products of the vine, and to not cut your hair, and to avoid dead bodies, okay? So this is very crazy because I truly did not remember these requirements in the Nazarite vow. However, I felt led, the whole time I was doing chemo to not drink alcohol. Not that I drink very much anyway, just occasional, but I did not have a from like probably beginning of May up until my birthday on 9/14, I did not have a drink of alcohol at all. And I didn't realize that, you know, this it ties to this, which is just crazy. So no one told me not to drink, or no one told me to not drink. No one said anything of the sort. I just decided not to. I just felt that I didn't need to. Okay. So anyway, what is the point of why did Paul take a Nazarite vow, right? If he transitioned from being Saul to Paul and from being under the law to being under grace? Well, because it all talks about, circumcision versus uncircumcision and the whole basically it says, Paul taught, which is true, that circumcision essentially was not required. But, people ask, as an example, why did he have Timothy circumcised, right? Well, it's because the vows and the circumcision of Timothy were related as examples, okay? So basically, they did these things to reassure the Jewish converts to Christianity that they were not teaching against God's law, but simply some of the rituals were no longer required, right? Because we obey God's voice. There is still a law of God, but it's through his voice, right? He is our bread, he's our spiritual manna, right? So, what he says we do, which is exactly what I was saying before in the very beginning, is that he told me to listen to my husband, that I was to go through the motions, and that this was a facade and that I'm healed. Okay. I was healed in the beginning, right? So, in listening to those things, I went through this treatment and it ultimately increased my faith. It um helped me to have more reverence for Jesus and bend my heart and circumcise my heart essentially more to him, and that is a part of the purification and sanctification. I am sorry, got interrupted. That was not for salvation. It is for purification and just, developing the fruit of the spirit and essentially bringing you to a point of being one with Jesus. What did he say? Take up your cross and follow me. What is the whole point of taking up your cross? It's going through the process, right? The trials, the tough things that develop perseverance, endurance, strength, and an increase of faith and love for the Father. So anyway, all right. So the next thing I want to pull up has to do with the prophecy from June 23rd of 2023. All right, so this was the one Jesus spoke through Mandy, okay? I'm not going to read the whole thing. If you want to, listen to the whole word, then you can go find her YouTube or TikTok and look for the June 13th prophecy. Okay. So I'm just gonna read a couple things here to highlight, okay? All right, he said, the constellation Leo, look behind it. I am revealing all my mysteries to my people, who I ordained from the beginning of time. My signs in the heavens. The crab has several meanings. So if you know anything about Torah, Torah tells you to not eat shellfish, right? Anyway, that's a whole different scenario, but it's a picture of, according to Jewish law, clean and unclean, food. What are you supposed to eat, what you're not. So anyway, not just my time, but it correlates with what I am proclaiming clean and unclean is, circumcision and uncircumcision, right? So he talks about that. So he's talking about the crab, the constellation, which is Cancer, okay? How interesting is that? He's talking about the Cancer uh, constellation and how it ties with being clean versus unclean and circumcision and uncircumcision. What have I just been saying? So, physically, the law, eating crab or shellfish or certain things, that's not something that we need to worry about anymore, because ultimately it tells you in Mark, I believe, chapter 10, that it's what goes in it's not what goes into a person, it that defiles a man, but it's what comes out of the heart that defiles a man, right? So this is what he's trying to say, that's why you have to go through the sanctification process, because it's cleansing your heart, not for salvation purposes, but for the purpose of becoming one with Jesus, okay? To getting to the point where you are holy as he is holy, okay? And that comes from trials and tribulations to develop that growth, okay? And so that's what's interesting. So this happened on June 13th of 2023, okay? I actually shaved my head on June 14th, but I know this is a bit graphic, guys, but I have to show. This is where I started losing all of my hair. It was a lot, okay? And I have up here highlighted June 13th, okay, at 1840, which would be, it was June 13th of 2024. And then June 14th is when I shaved my head the first time. So if you look at this picture here, and then the picture, or, how I look in the camera, you can see I lost my hair. I shaved it here. It looks like I still had quite a bit of it. However, it was rapidly falling out, guys. So I just wanted to show, and you can see my eyebrows there. Okay. So I literally, in my eyelashes, I literally lost all that. Okay. So anyway, let me just. So, guys, this video is, the purpose of it is to show you what's been going on, and every single thing that we go through, there's a lesson to it. Okay? There's a lesson to it. There's always Jesus never uses, or never doesn't use, circumstances to teach us something. We just have to be open to see it and to learn it. And so with that said, again, I know it sounds like I'm kind of all over the place. It's because I haven't done this in a while, and this isn't exactly the most easy thing for me to do. I'm very vulnerable right now with no hair. It's been very tough. It's been a very emotional journey, but it's also been a beautiful journey, and I'm so thankful, and I love Jesus so much more. And I see how his hand has been on me the entire time. And the group, despite what a lot of people think, and that's okay. I don't care what other people think. But this group has been my rock, along with primarily my husband, whom I am now so much closer to. We were close before, but we're even closer now. And so this literally just has, it's been rough, but there's so many beautiful things that's come from it. So this is only part 1. Part 2 will be coming when Jesus says part 2 is coming. So I love you guys. I am thankful for all the ones who listen to these videos and who can really see what Jesus is doing. And no matter what, go to his feet. You ask him yourself to show you. Ask for confirmations. Ask for scriptures. Ask for, whatever it is, understanding that you need. And you are saved by his grace through faith. But faith without your works is dead. And I'm not talking about working to get to heaven. I'm talking about the trials and the action it takes to go through the process. That's what the journey is. And so I'm going through a journey, just like you. We all have our different things that we have to go through, and that's what it is. So I love you guys so much, and I'm praying for you guys every single day, and I cannot wait to see you in the clouds. You be blessed in Jesus' name.